Hello everyone, James Williams, Director of Programs with MEF, and a very warm welcome. In case you have not been with us today on day 2 of MEF Connect's Digital Transformation, today's Payments Day. Now, this session is focusing on something that has happened, has impacted, I would say, the lives of almost everyone on the planet in the past 15 months or so, and that be COVID-19. And it would be remiss of us not to have a panel looking into the area and the impacts COVID has had. I think it's safe to say that going back to the end of 2019, no one would have walked into a betting shop and said, hey, I bet there's going to be a massive global situation which will result in the worst economic situation since the World War II. And yeah, I'd like to put some money down on that. Don't think anyone did that. And even when Leicester City won the Premiership back in 2015-2016 season, the odds there were 5,000 to 1. The odds here surely would have been 10,000 to 1. Anyway, without further ado, I've delayed proceedings enough. Let's invite people on. So I'm going to start off with Bentzi Aviv. Bentzi on Aviv, Customer Business Executive, Mobile Financial Services and Financial Services with Amdocs. Bentzi, welcome. You're on mute, sir. You're doing my usual trick. There we go.
Thank you for that. You never learn, right? After 1.5 years, we still tackle this mute problem.
I'm usually the worst offender, don't worry. But today I haven't done it once yet. There's still time. There's still time, Bentzi.
Okay, so thank you so much. Happy to be here.
No, great to see you and great to hear. So you manage everything financial services, mobile financial services related at Amdocs, I understand.
Yeah,
that title with that customer business executive, it belies exactly what you do within Amdocs. And could you just explain for those of people out there who may not be so sure who Amdocs is, what Amdocs do, or basically what don't you do?
First of all, Amdocs is well known in telecommunication business. It's a company that's been around for more than almost 40 years, so far from being a startup. It's a well-established organization focusing on billing, charging, and actually servicing the giants of the world, the likes of AT&T, Vodafone, T-Mobile, and so forth. But the unit that I'm actually heading is a specialized organization that focuses on the mobile financial services and financial services of the different industries that we get to work with. It's a very unique place to be because you get to work with telecommunication service providers trying to become banks, but you also work with banks trying to protect their position, trying to maintain their revenues and maintain their position in the market. So I have the pleasure of managing an organization that actually focuses on these two different streams. And I think it brings a very, very special viewpoint to the way that the world will evolve, or the way that the industry will evolve in the next coming years.
Yeah, we'll be calling on that. But actually, I don't want to steal the thunder of the next panel, which we'll be looking at in the coming years. And I think you'll be involved in that as well. So hold something back, sir. But welcome, a very warm welcome. Next, I'd like to introduce Matthias Horvath, Payments Consultant with BPC.
Well, hey, happy to have me today. Thanks a lot for the invitation here. And I'm quite curious about the panel today. And I hope I can bring a bit a different view based on, where we with BPC are working with, mainly, let's say, on the traditional payment rails as a payment service provider, as a payment software vendor, serving the banks, so the traditional banks like the HSBCs of the world, but also fintechs, mainly on the payment rails around MasterCard and Visa and so on. So hopefully I can bring also some of this into our discussions today.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us from Vienna. And next up, Zoran Vasiljev, the CEO of Centili. Zoran, nice to see you. Hi, good to see you.
Hi, Bentzi. Hi, Matthias. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to a great conversation. Yeah, very quickly for people that are not familiar with Centili, a company that started 10 years ago originally in a payments only space for premium SMS and DCB. Today, a full-fledged digital monetization company working with telcos and digital merchants around the globe. So looking forward to the conversation and to see how did we manage this COVID impact as a topic that was chosen for the panel.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much. Great having you. And next up, Diego Conforti. Ciao, Diego, Chief Commercial Officer with Digital Virgo.
Hi to everyone. Buongiorno. Okay. Nice to see you guys, and thanks for the invitation. Let me, also present myself and the company. Digital Virgo is one of the leading specialists in mobile payment via telecom operator billing. Okay, we are present in more than 40 countries with the big expertise, especially in Africa markets, in Latin America, Russian CIS, and also Europe. So it would be a great pleasure to discuss.
Fantastic. A nice comprehensive overview you'll be able to provide geographically. That's fantastic. And I was just buying Josh a couple of minutes for him to have probably that little extra cappuccino because it's early with him over in the West Coast. Josh, great. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Josh Gosliner, Head of Marketing with Boku. Great that you could join.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, good afternoon.
No problem. Now, I'm sure 99.9% of people who have anything to do in the payment space will have heard of your company, but please assume people haven't heard of your company. What do Boku do?
Sure. So Boku is a mobile payments company traditionally in carrier billing. We have carrier billing up and running in 70 countries, and our customers include 6 of the 7 largest companies in the world in terms of value. We've not yet gotten Saudi Aramco, but that's because they're not selling anything to consumers. And we're increasingly getting into other payment methods like mobile wallets.
Fantastic. So those of you who will have caught up with me on previous sessions, I think you know the drill by now, because I would like you to rate how you think the industry as a whole, that's every single stakeholder out there as a whole, has been doing looking after the consumer, whether you call it in terms of trust or security, protection. How do you think the industry has been doing the past year? If you could rate it from 1 to 10, 1 being absolutely terrible, 10 being absolutely meteoric superstar-like. So if we can start with Zoran, what's your rating? And a couple of little reasons why, and we'll take it from there.
Well, thanks for putting me on a spot. So
no problem. Always, I'm your man for that, sir.
I know, great. So I'll play it safe, correct? So we're probably around 6, correct?
Oh, why? Previous session, someone did 5. That was total, and then 6. So, okay, go on.
So, and the only reason why I'm saying this is simply because I think we also got caught by surprise. Because obviously nobody anticipated what would have happened a year and a half ago, and I think it's only fair to acknowledge that what has happened to the world over the last 14-15 months is probably something unprecedented. It's brought a lot of grief and a lot of suffering to many families, many people, and especially, and then later on, obviously, a lot of industries and a lot of businesses. But if we are looking at our sector, and if we're looking at our industry, I think there's been also some great benefits, simply because the situation that was kind of at hand created an environment where people spend a significant amount of time more on mobile devices, significant amount of time more online, where they had to get familiar with digital and new business models, where they had to transact more on channels that they probably haven't done in the past, and entertain themselves in ways that they haven't maybe done before, and all that kind of benefit all of us that are in this ecosystem. That on one side obviously had consumers that are consuming and entertaining and moving their life on digital devices and on alternative screens and additional screens, and anybody else that wanted to deliver any type of digital experience to them. And all of us that were somewhere in between, enabling this, monetizing this, and bridging this, was kind of caught in between of benefiting from this new situation. So I think as an industry, I think we were all doing better, and we will do transacting more, and we were benefiting from it. Have we also learned to the process, and have we moved as fast
Don't give everything away yet, Zoran. Don't give everything away. There's still time.
We'll see.
We're just at the start. We have time, sir. But next up, Bentzi, the same question to you. What's your take on it?
I would actually split my answer into two parts. I would say that the first 6 months of the crisis were horrible. I would rank it as 2, to be honest, just because I don't want to rank it as 1. There were a lot of things that were not well established and not well prepared to deal with the situation. But I think we were all caught by surprise. It's not something unique. You can see it in pretty much any industry. So the travel industry, the insurance industry, the medical industry, no one could have ever predicted. And you said it yourself at the beginning, James, that no one could have even predicted this kind of crisis. But I honestly believe that if you look at the point line after the 6 months or 5 months, whatever you want to put it, the solidarity and the capability of the world to come together and organizations to work together to ease up the situation, to help countries that need, to help organizations that need, to help industries that need, I would rank that as higher than 6. I would actually rank it closer to 7 and 8, because even though it took us time to get our act together and get things in motion, it happened quite fast. If you look at the history and the duration of time that it took for these transformations to take place and to happen was significantly longer. It actually was measured in years, while we've done it quite fast. So I'll tell you that first 6 months, very low. But once we got our act together and the industry started in different areas, started working together, started supporting each other, started even cross-industry support, I would rank it as higher. I believe that as an industry, as a society, we actually came together faster than I expected, and things got better. So my viewpoint is before and after. I'm sorry for giving 2 answers to a question.
No, don't be sorry. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. So thank you very much. Matthias, over to you. What's your take on it?
Well, actually, I would take it a bit from a different angle, as I'm also working in a bit of different area with the traditional banking industry and also the traditional players in this block. And I think from this I would rate it even an 7 or even an 8, because when it comes really, and I think I speak for a lot of regions now, when it comes to exactly this point to provide this stimulus, from the government to the society, there were really a lot of quick moves from the likes of let's say this modern thinking fintech players around Venmo, Square, or Paper to provide people which was underserved, underbanked, or unbanked with a solution to get some actually of this stimulus in a way, even not having actually a direct deposit linked at the moment. And the same was, I think, when it comes to banks like Chime or so on, which are then used it even for, let's say, providing even a stronger use case to provide upfront $200 for new signed up clients to provide them something in advance until they get the stimulus. I think there was a lot of things going quite well in this thing, and also the quick adoption, I might say, in relation to contactless payment methods. I think there was a lot of positive ways how the industry reacted. I might say even it just accelerated some steps, which was already planned. So I think it was from this particular thing quite an, I might say, even impressive quick move. Even mainly, as I mentioned, from the likes of the fintech players and not from the traditional banking or mobile network operating players. I might say it was really their moves was so fast and really on the point to support the people where they needed it most. That's why I said 7 to 8 from my point of view. Probably really high, but I take it from this angle actually.
Fantastic, thank you, Matthias. And Diego, what's your take on this? Well,
I mean, one thing, I mean, COVID has been a disaster worldwide. Is still a big problem for a lot of people. Okay, it's very complex. Talking about restaurant and all the rules, but also the travel. I mean, it's very complex. But going back to our ecosystem, I mean, I agree with Matthias more on. I mean, I'm also with 7 and 8. Okay, as a vote, because I mean, before we started with the shock. I mean, of course, of what's going to happen, but it's more of a shock without knowing what's going to happen. What is the future? When this will end? We still don't have an answer today. Okay, but we are adapting. I think that these help a lot to boost the APM, alternative payment system. Mobile phone is at the heart of the ecosystem. People started to, mainly use the mobile phone and the payment in different way. And I think, yes, we have overall reacted in a positive way and give enough and good services to the people. But of course, there is a big space to improve and to grow.
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you. And Josh, now over to you from your perspective.
So I'm going to look at this kind of on 2 time horizons. If you think about kind of, March of last year till now, I think that everybody here in this industry, we're focused on digital transformation, and this was a shock event that really accelerated digital transformation for a lot of people. But I think it's more important that we think about this in kind of the long term. And I do see this as actually being a fundamental shift that's going to carry on for a number of years and really is actually the new normal. And I would give us a grade of incomplete at this point, just because we don't know enough. But certainly, I think that in order for the payments industry to really be successful, we have to land this kind of end to end. And what that means is that merchant acceptance of mobile payments, for example, has to increase dramatically. And at the same time, you have to make it easy for consumers to use these payment methods as well. And one of the other concerns that comes up is the fact that this kind of dispersion of the economy and digitization of the economy actually makes it a lot easier for fraudsters to take advantage of the situation. And so I think that there's a number of things that still need to be done, but certainly because, as this industry has already been kind of ahead of the game, I think that the world kind of caught up to us in the last year. And now it's really up to us to take the next step forward to really continue the growth and success.
And okay, so incomplete, so no value from you. Because
I will give us a 9 for the last 12 months, but I think more importantly, we have to look. I think we did our homework ahead of time. The fact that we've been digitizing payments for years.
Okay, you mean Boku? You're talking Boku.
I mean a number of panelists here.
Okay, you're talking about the industry, just to make this clear.
I'm talking about the industry. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I mean, if I were to rate Boku, I would obviously have to give us a 10. But
obviously, good marketing. Yeah. Get a LinkedIn post out now. Yeah.
But I think, again, really, it was more that the world kind of caught up to where this industry was, and now the challenge is on us to take the next step. Okay,
now Zoran. Now, Josh mentioned 2 words there, which actually, for an event all about it, references to it have been super thin on the ground, and that's digital transformation. And I remember not so many years ago, people were talking about digital transformation. It seemed like something other organizations do. It seems like something really big companies do. But from your perspective, your Centili perspective, if you go back to just the time before the pandemic hit, where was digital transformation? Was it something you were really seeing your clients, your business partners doing, or was it really still at early stages?
Yeah, great question. I think I have a little bit of a radical view on this, simply because I came, I was on a telco and operator side for a very, very long time, and then moved into digital ventures, digital businesses, and obviously somewhere in between in consulting, correct? And I'm just afraid that there was another term invented by consultants, correct, which which is probably truth. But the point is that digital transformation, unlike anything that has happened to these industries in the past, cannot be treated as a one-time project. It's an ongoing, evolving, new way of doing business. It will never stop, correct? So, and I think many industries need to realize and accept that the digital transformation is just moving into running business digitally, into acquiring digitally, into monetizing digitally, in parallel with whatever used to exist and maybe still needs to continue to exist traditionally. So it's something that has nothing to do linked and related to the COVID situation. So you're right. Many industries and many companies started these journeys. Some of it wanted to do a lot of this in their within their internal business setups, while many companies understood that running business digitally requires digital skill set, requires a different setup and so forth, and they spun off their digital ventures and their digital businesses. COVID and the pandemic that has happened over the last 14-15 months has accelerated some of this in many industries, and many of us that had something to offer in this process, being a platform, being a network or connectivity, or a set of merchant relationships or anything else that some of us in the industry had to offer to our customers or to somebody else, was a great help in order for them to transform and to move faster into the digital space and make money out of it. So I think, yeah, it's an ongoing story. It's something that does not have an end. It will not have an end. It's something that will evolve, that will start to change business models, that will actually start to shift how people consume, how they behave, how businesses adopt and change. And then all of us that are actually enablers of this through our platforms, through our ecosystem, through our payment channels, methods, and as Josh said, something that originally maybe in our industry started as carrier billing or something else, today is also going into e-wallet system, is going into crypto, it's going into vouchering system, and all of that now is becoming part of the new digital journey for the businesses.
Fantastic. So it's not digital transformation, it's digital evolution.
It's digital evolution.
We need digital evolution event next year. So no digital transformation event. That's out. Hello, evolution. Diego, what's been your take on it, looking around on a practical basis? Because you go outside onto the street here, you ask people, you talk to them about digital transformation. They haven't got a clue what you're talking about. They don't know. What does it actually mean on the ground? And I always championing the cause for smaller companies, because 99% of businesses on this planet are small and medium-sized organizations. They're not the likes of Amdocs and Boku and Digital Virgo and people like that with hundreds, if not thousands of employees. They're smaller. So what's your perspective on it?
Well, I mean, I don't think we have to go into explaining to everyone what is digital transformation. It's something that people go through without sometimes seeing it. Okay, I think that they are adapting, for example, to different payment system. Okay, alternative payment system. You see in Africa there are, for example, growing a lot of mobile wallet. So it's not trying to explain something complex. It's to do the opposite. Is to transform something complex in very simple to use for people, because people at the end, they have a lot of things to do. They don't think about digital payment all day around, okay? They just use it. So we just have to think simple or make it simple for them. That's, I think, the basic and what we have to push. I mean, all the complexity that is behind the complexity with, I can say, the entire ecosystem, the normal end user should not see it. That's our job in a few sentences.
No, exactly. And Bentzi as well, your opinion on this on the ground. in the real world.
Yeah, I agree with what was said, but I would like to add another viewpoint to it, if I may. Because every organization had some sorts of a digitalization program running already. It's not that the COVID created digitalization programs. They were there beforehand. Obviously, it accelerated them. But I would like to add another point to it. While in the past, digitalization was done on organization level, means every organization dealt with their own issues, with their own problems when it comes to digitalizing the customer experience, digitalizing their backend. COVID actually taught us that digitalization is actually can be successful only if it's done in an ecosystem environment, in a cooperation between organizations. So the purpose of the digitalization is not just to modernize, to move from a mainframe environment into a cloud environment and to improve your customer experience. It's actually to create an ecosystem which is seamless, that a customer can start an activity, buying it. The fact that today when you buy a movie ticket, you still need to be redirected to a different website to make the payment, and then you're redirected back to the website that you started from when you bought the ticket, is something that is no longer valid, right? It shouldn't be there. It creates friction. So in my mind, the change caused by the COVID-19 is the understanding that digitalization it needs to be done while understanding that that you are becoming a part of an ecosystem, that you don't just digitalize yourself. You need to digitalize, keeping in mind that to be a successful organization in the future, you have to be a valid and a valuable player in an ecosystem, in a marketplace. And I think that's the main difference. So it's not that we've started digitalization because of COVID-19. Actually, as I said, we accelerated it. That, of course, that happened. We accelerated all the programs, but they were there. They were there before COVID-19. The main difference, as I said, is the understanding that it's no longer just an activity on an organization level. To be a valuable business moving forward, you need to understand that part of your digitalization is to become a valuable member of a marketplace, an ecosystem of players. Depends on which industry you operate in.
But Bentzi, would you agree with that? That all the plans were there and it just accelerated it? What about all the small companies around the world? Would you agree with that? And
I can tell you that even the small moms and pops shops had the aspiration of selling online. What COVID-19 did, it accelerated that. It's not that because digitalization, the concept exists for many years. It's not something that was invented 2 years ago. Some organizations already are in the second and third cycle of digitalization. They went from mainframe to VM, to virtualized environment, and now it's cloud native type of an approach. So it's not that it was invented as part of COVID-19. It was accelerated. And I agree with you that maybe in some parts of the world, yes, it wasn't as fast and as moving as fast as expected, and it was still in the planning phase, but it's been there. It's not something that was created outside as an outcome of this crisis. It was accelerated. That's why I'm saying that in my mind, the more important aspect of digitalization is the understanding that it's an ecosystem play. It's no longer just myself and my customers. It's how my customers are part of an ecosystem, and how can I create a valuable experience to my customers and to my customers' customers and to my potential partners.
Thanks, Bentzi. Matthias, over to you. So there's been super rapid change, but not everywhere has massive high smartphone penetration. Not everywhere has rock solid, stable internet. You can't therefore assume you can use digital channels. You've probably got to go old school and use SMS for payment or whatever it may be. So hasn't COVID created a two-tier system of haves and have-nots from your perspective, Matthias?
Well, definitely really good question, and I fully agree. That's I think some obstacles we will always have. So regional obstacles from already emerged markets to the emerging and developing markets. However, I would see it even a bit differently. I would see it even as a let's say a door opener for exactly those markets which are not so adopted nowadays, as you mentioned, based on technology, based on probably internet, etc., to really trying to support them in a way, and we see it in a way nowadays in the regions like Africa, Latin America, where QR-based code payment initiations comes more and more. Again, at the back of it, of course, using existing payment rails could be either DCP, could be in a lot of those countries, as we see, they use the traditional payment rails in their national payment switching areas, or from the big payment networks. However, what we see there is actually this quick adoption nowadays into QR code-based payments. Why? Because it's actually something from the governmental, mainly some providing measurements when it comes to, when you were allowed to go out, how to measure that you were allowed to enter the airport, etc. And mainly those systems were QR code-based systems. So also using and reusing exactly these technologies behind for establishing the payment rails, also for accepting QR code-based payments. And I see it actually going in this direction for emerging markets. And in the emerged markets, actually, I might say it's really a matter of who is gonna bring the best user experience in the check-in, check-out, and who is doing this gonna make the best impact here in the market, I might say.
Okay, thank you, Matthias. And Josh, over to you. So do you see this big fracture and discrepancy and divide growing with very, very little mid-ground with the haves and have-nots from your perspective, or not so much? Or do you think there is still time and there's an opportunity for the people who really aren't connected and everything to jump forward so fast and connect with the rest of us? What's your take on this?
So I think we've seen a bit of a bifurcation in terms of payments, and you have sort of Western Europe, North America, that's just going down the credit card path and digitizing credit cards. And in the rest of the world, you have this move towards mobile wallets and other mobile payment types, really digital payments. So in many ways, there's a little bit of a leapfrogging happening. But I think if you look at the metrics, mobile payments actually became more prevalent globally, did higher volumes than credit cards in 2019. So this is a pre-pandemic force that's only continuing to accelerate. And so I think sometimes we say alternative payments, but these are not the alternative payments anymore. These are actually maybe not default, but they're the payment method of choice for the world now. And I think this gets into bringing more scalability. So we've built these rails for payments and mobile payments and digital payments, but we're not connecting to all of the endpoints in order to make this ecosystem really work. And that's kind of where I think my incomplete grade comes from around the digital transformation that's really yet to come. Because the fact that we can, large companies can integrate mobile payment types quite easily, just because they have the resources and they have the people in order to do it. But if you think about e-commerce and the mom and pop shops, it's a company like Shopify or these e-commerce platforms that have brought the kind of scalability that make it really easy for anybody to very quickly sell goods online. I think we need to see a similar type of evolution take place with payments so that we can make this become a lot easier for all of the endpoints to be connected, shops of any size and consumers anywhere.
Fantastic point. Now, unbelievably, but our 40 minutes together is nearly at an end. We've got barely 5 minutes. So literally it breaks down to about 45 seconds each for each of you. So Zoran, in this closing, all of you in this closing section, I'm just going to ask you very, very quickly what you think are the key things, for example, in customer behavior, the changes you've seen which will remain going forward. It could be in terms of threats, rules, regulations, customer behavior, any couple of quick things you see as staying with us today that have changed because of COVID onset. Zoran, go for it.
Maybe two things that comes to my mind. One is I think we have seen what really an increased convenience means to a customer, and especially as we mentioned that the behavior in the world has really moved into the mobile at a large scale. Our preferred channel of communication and being contacted is obviously some kind of messaging platform of some sort. And us being able now to embed payment into the same space and complete the same experience where people get notified, reminded, or promoted something, and being able to execute a transaction within the same experience is something that that is a behavior that is up and coming, and I think that is going to take up on a larger scale. And finally, in 2 seconds, I also think there's a great opportunity, as I think Matthias mentioned, in the underserved and unbanked space for all of us industry, maybe to put our heads together and to work closer towards serving those that that might be running out of credit from time to time and might not be able to afford certain services, and to see how can we credit rate them and how can we allow them to enjoy the services that our merchants are offering without credit.
Thank you very much. Sorry to cut you off a little bit there. And Bentzi, your closing words. What couple of things you say you think will stay with us that have changed?
I think that the fact that we don't pay enough attention to international remittances means there was a lot of focus on national activities and the expectation of customers to be able to transfer money, to support each other, to the same lines as Zoran said, but actually emphasizing the point that it's related to international remittances. And I think that that's something that we need to pay extra attention to and create more capabilities in this domain, which is still a problem. I would also link everything to the fraud detection capabilities. I think Josh referred to it at some point. While we keep everything open and transparent and seamless, we need to remember that a lot of that is being used by different individuals, and there were a lot of examples of people transfer money in between each other and actually identifying that they were fraud. They were trying to sell an iPhone, and they figure out that they didn't get paid for it. So I would say the international remittances, but also the extra attention to the fraud or the safety of the implementations, which I think are the necessity and the need to do it better and better and better grows. And by the way, this is a moving target. The fact that we've done it today well doesn't mean that we will be able to do it well next week.
No. Thank you, Bentzi. Thank you very much. And next up, Diego.
Okay, I will be very quick. I think that, what we see, as we all said in one way or another, is the evolution of touchless and seamless and secure payment, digital payment. We see it very heavily, in Europe, also with digital ticketing, with the payment for now that things are moving again with transport or parking, etc. We see a real big growth on that, So mainly is that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Diego. And Matthias, your closing remark. A couple of things do you think is going to be a bit of a COVID hangover?
Well, I think, and already, as Diego mentioned, I think the acceleration into, let's say, I would even call it a cashless society, so that we're really moving away from using cash in anything we are doing, shopping on brick and mortar shops, going more and more online where it is possible. I think also there's a lot of problems we started to solve, or which I see it's needed to be solved better, like moving to online education and so on. How is payment methods integrated perfectly there? As already mentioned by Bentzi, and I think that's one of the key issues and one of the biggest obstacles we need to touch as soon as possible. To make it easier is cross-border remittances, so cross-border transfers. And I think here, therefore, the blockchain technology is definitely something we can talk more in another discussion, but not today.
We will, Matthias, fear not. Thank you very much. And Josh,
happy to be part.
Just to close this whole panel, and we talked about this separately before, but the fact that so much talk around this is all very industry driven, and there's not enough market consumer driven speak. So if you just close with a couple of things about consumer behavior in particular, you think will have changed because of all this.
Yeah, as the American on the panel, I'll have the most brash sort of opinion here. I think that this is the beginning of the end of cash. I think for consumers, the idea of carrying around paper and metal that a bunch of other people have touched, especially after you've been through a global pandemic, it doesn't seem like a great idea to ever do again. And from a government perspective, cash is where money laundering happens. It's where tax dodging happens. It's just simply not something that we need to use anymore. We've reached a level of smartphone penetration where we can move beyond cash, and certainly it requires that we get even reach even greater heights with smartphone penetration. But if you look at the growth of mobile payments that's happened over the last few years, it's not at the expense of credit cards. It's at the expense of cash-based payments, vouchers, bank transfers, etc. It's really that consumers are wanting to move from the kind of cash-based payments that they've had into digital payments, because it's a way in which they can transact online. It's a way that they can transact more easily. So consumers have really led this, especially in emerging markets, but it's a flight away from cash.
Josh, thank you very much. I'd just like to say the closing thing is that Sweden is on track to be allegedly totally cashless by 2023. They're leading the charge with this, but they're still very, very big, very developed countries where cash is still super heavy and dominates transactions. So there's a long way to go before we get there into the totally cashless world. All the best to everyone. Thank you so much to my panelists, Diego Conforti from Digital Virgo, Bentzi Aviv, Amdocs, Matthias Horvath, BPC, and Zoran Vasiljev, Centili, and Josh Gosliner from Boku. Thank you all for joining me, spending 40 minutes with me. Hope you all enjoyed it, audience, and enjoy the next session with Phil Todd, looking at the future. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. It was a pleasure.